The truth always comes out about people in the end, no matter what. You cannot hide you. This is Gia. This has been Gia the whole time. She's a complete manipulator, hypocrite, everything. Like, she just me over. I paid for everything this whole experiment.
I'm just going to say I don't know Scott, but I want to sincerely apologize to the women that are going to be left in his path from here on out, because Gia has created such a menace, a villain, that I pity the woman that he comes across, because he's tried his best to be the good guy, and sadly, the wife that he was matched with, it didn't work out. And then I don't get the theatrics between David and Alissa. It wasn't that big a deal. Yes, it was a big deal, but it wasn't enough for them to be throwing rings and storming out and doing all those theatrics of, oh, me, why me, you didn't do this, that, and the other. No, they need to go back to Neighbours, or they need to go back to drama school, because that wasn't it. That really wasn't it. The audacity for Alissa to not be aware or have self-awareness enough to know that what she did was wrong doesn't make sense. For her to preach about hurt people. You being hurt is not justification for you hurting somebody else. I'm sorry, that's not justifiable. You can't say that. And then Danny and Beck are just there for the theatrics. They're there for the drama, they're there for the ratings, and they're there for the clout that will come with being on the show, because everything else they've done doesn't make sense. I love, Stella and Filip, where they are in their relationship. They're happy, they're ecstatic, they're moving on, and so good for them. At least we hopefully have one successful marriage. Everybody else can go to the bin. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight Australia, Season 13, Episode 35. Okay, so we have the couple sitting in their apartments. Obviously, they've been on this alternative partner date, and everybody's back, and they're sort of reflecting on that and having conversations. Filip and Stella, well, they're happy because they are in a safe space with one another. Yes, Filip was uncomfortable and he was very nervous, but on her part, Stella is saying she was good. She was happy to talk to people. She trusts herself. She knows she would never cross any boundaries, so she's good with that. Rachel and Steven as well say that their alternate dates were amazing, but there was nothing romantic. It was just a conversation about them just talking about themselves and their relationship. And so I hope Steven doesn't play Rachel, because it would really be devastating for her if it turns out at the end of the day that he's been playing her all along. Alissa and David obviously was nervous. He was nervous. He felt like, he wasn't going to be able to sort of participate in this, and he left. Alissa, on her part, comes back. She says, this was fun. It was just a mixer. It was just getting to know people. And, I am good. David, he says he trusts his wife. She's never given him reason to believe that she's a liar. So he's going to trust what she said and take it on board. And it's like, hopefully it works out for you, because I don't see it. Beck and Danny, you have them have a conversation, and Beck is busy telling Danny that the guy that was matched with Gia is Gia's type, so that would have been very good for her. Danny on his part is just laughing because he can't be bothered. He, I think, is up there celebrating Scott's demise, which is really sad because he doesn't have a prize in his barn, so he needs to keep quiet. Gia and Scott meet up. Gia is saying, they had a mixer. Obviously, they met their alternate. Scott on his part is saying he was very shaky, he was sick, and he wanted to leave. Gia said the girl stayed, and they had conversations, but the conversations, there was nothing there that would be of concern. She then goes on to reveal that her alternate was really pushing it and really wanted to explore that. And she told him that she's not a cheater, she would never cheat. And so she is committed to Scott. Do I think so? No. Gia is just looking for the next big break. She is. So if this man turns out to have more money than Scott, then she's going to run for it, because we all saw how heavily she was flirting with this man. So the couples then receive a task from the experts whereby, yes, they've debriefed after the meeting with the alternates, but now they get to see what their partners got up to. And it was about to be messy because everybody was nervous. Well, those that misbehaved were nervous. People like Gia, Beck, Danny, and Alissa would have reason to be nervous. Everybody else can take several seats. So first up is David and Alissa. Alissa said, she is happy to look at the videos because at the end of the day, all she did was a mixer. She had conversations with people. There was nothing of concern to her. David, on his part, had left. And Alissa was saying she's disappointed in David for leaving the mixer because he could have sat down and had a conversation. It didn't need to be romantic, but he could have at least had conversations in which to sort of work on their relationship. I'm just like, I don't think so. I don't think that's what you're doing, Alissa. So David goes to the bedroom to watch his video while Alissa stays in the living room. And David's video is he just pointed at his ring, said, I'm married, and he left. And that was it. David got to watch Alissa in her element because, she was very flirty, in my opinion. She was very flirty with her match. And then she told him about being 70% sort of into the marriage and thinking that it will work. And then she sort of said, I don't care if my husband comes for me. At the end of the day, he's not coming for me. I know that I didn't do anything wrong. And it's like she's sort of crippling at him at the knees. This is what David was afraid of when he didn't want to kneel and propose at the altar, because he said, if I give her power now, she's going to expect power in the relationship for forever. And because they didn't have enough intervention from the experts, this is why they don't have the skills or the tools needed in order to make a successful marriage. And so for them to have a blow up because of this, I didn't get it. Because after they watched the videos, they then came back and David was saying, I feel some type of way. This is the first time I've seen him be vocal because he said, I feel disrespected. And anyone from West Africa, we all know they're very much into respect. Respect is a big thing. And we're all across the continent, but mainly in West Africa, there are countries whereby they do not tolerate any form of disrespect at all. So, there was this conversation with Alissa saying, oh, well, I was hurt, so I decided to hurt you because you hurt me on the couch. And David is saying, but that's where we're supposed to offload our burden and get help in sort of packaging it up neatly. So the idea that you feel like I dogged you out by letting the experts know what was wrong in our marriage, and you then decided to go and flirt with this man and say, and make, disrespectful comments about me doesn't make sense. For Alissa to not see this and think that, she is bigger than the program, I didn't get it. It left a really bad taste in my mouth. It makes me question what else was going on in that relationship that we didn't get to see. David then said, okay, we're done. He stormed out. He took off his ring. He said, I'm done. Alissa came and threw her ring and said, I'm done as well. And it's like, these two people, are they influencers that were brought in for their followers just to be on the show and then told you can divorce on the last day, or what is it? Because all that theatrics, even Neighbors doesn't have such terrible acting. I'm sorry, that was terrible. That was appalling. There was no need for all that. If you don't want to be with the person you're in a relationship with, just tell them and keep it stepping. There's no need for you to be going around and sort of shopping around and looking for other people to join your fight. That wasn't necessary. I really didn't like it. It left a really bad taste in my mouth. And I was sort of side-eyeing Alissa because I was thinking, there's no need for all of that. All you could do is just say to him, I understand how you feel. I respect your feelings. Your feelings are valid. I want to apologize for what I said or what I did that made you feel this way. That would have been the end of it. You have Rachel and Steven. Obviously, Rachel and Steven didn't entertain the people that were their alternates, so they both go and watch their videos, and they were sort of speaking very positively about their marriages and their partners. And I would buy it if I thought the two of them were all in. It seems like Rachel is all in and Steven is sort of tethering on the edge of he could fall to the yes or to the no side. They then came back, had a debrief, and they were saying, we love our meeting with our alternates, but they can never match what we have, which I think maybe Rachel is giving Steven too much credit. Steven is just dragging it so that the viewers don't drag him. I don't think he really likes this woman. I saw a rumor that apparently he ignored her after the experiment, which would be devastating for someone like Rachel, given how much grace she's afforded this man. So I hope it's just a rumor that doesn't go anywhere. Stella and Filip were always going to be good. They were always going to be good because they actually showed them sitting down with their alternates and being very respectful about their relationships and talking about where they were and what they've had to overcome to get to where they are and the fact that they're moving in together, which was really sweet. And so they set boundaries with the people that were their alternates immediately. That way there was no sort of gray areas, or that way there was nothing inappropriate said. You then had Filip be shown, the Gia video of them sort of talking and Gia sort of being told that her alternate is a better match for her than Steven. Why production did that, I do not know, because nobody else was shown somebody else's marriage. So that didn't make sense. They came back, they sat down, they had a debrief, and they were both happy because Filip and Stella were able to unload their baggage in time to get help from the experts and sort of work on that, whereas some of the other couples are struggling and there's no one to provide them support. Gia and Scott. Gia and Scott, I don't know how many times they've said they wanted to leave. I think there should be a clause in the sort of relationships or in the contracts for MAFS that you cannot say you want to leave more than once. If you say you want to leave, fine. The second time we're packing your bags and you're leaving. Because Gia is now making this a character in her storyline. Every time something happens that she doesn't like, she wants to leave. Apparently, the night before, she had a conversation with Scott, said she wanted to go, persuaded him to say, let's go. So they had their bags packed when production turned up. And they were saying, you know, they're going to go to the Gold Coast. And then you have Gia go to Melbourne, I assume, to go and pick up her daughter. Scott says, you know, he wanted to stay and do final vows, but Gia is saying no. They were in the street marching up and down with him, trying to persuade Gia to say, let's just stay and do our final vows. It's only 2-3 days. Gia wasn't on board with that. She wanted to leave. She's had enough. She wants to leave. She ordered her Uber. Uber must have made a lot of money with her. I think this time production refused to pay for it because she actually had her phone in her hand, which I assume was to confirm that that was the right driver. She left, and poor Scott was left there in the middle of the street with production. And it's like, why are we giving her all this airtime? For her to say, do you need airtime or a storyline that much that you want to stay on the show? No, she knows what she did. She doesn't want to be called out for it. This is why she's storming out and she's running away. I think she's more villainous than the people that she said bullied her at school. You had Rachel and Stephen go to the Luna Park. It was really nice to see them. They went on rides, they really enjoyed themselves, and they really seem to be in a very safe space and happy space. Do I think they're going to work long term? I think Stephen will have to do a lot of giving because it seems he is just constantly taking, and Rachel is allowing him. She's not setting boundaries with him. She's not telling him what she wants, but she's just taking whatever little bits she has. She was excited about this Luna Park thingy. He bought her candy floss, they got on a roller coaster, and for her, she was on cloud 9. Poor Scott then had an interview with production, and he was saying Gia's left. She doesn't want to come back. Gia phoned him. She said she's struggling and she wants him to leave with her. He said no. He says, you know, he feels defeated, hurt, and heartbroken. And she wasn't having it. Gia and Beck know the buzzwords to use in order to get themselves support. And it's like, you're saying, you know, you're feeling sad and you want to leave, you're struggling. Why not contact production and ask them to get you in touch with the mental health team? What mental health support do you think this man is going to provide for you if he himself is struggling? So I'm happy that Scott had the cojones to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm staying, which was good for him. You then have Danny and Beck. Danny and Beck are the king and queen of hypocrisy land. They are really, because they're having a conversation. They're both saying they're loyal. There was a conversation about the number that was given to Beck. Beck apparently came and told Danny that she was forced to take the number for Gia because Gia's alternate wouldn't allow them to leave without taking the number. And it's like, we heard you scream across the table to say, give it to me, I'll give it to her when she's ready. So the idea that you think you're lying to your husband, you're in an experiment where you're being recorded 24/7. What makes you think they don't have footage of that? So I didn't like that. I really didn't like it. Anyway, they then received the videos and were told to go and sit in separate rooms so that they could watch. It was cringe. It really was cringe because of how over flirty Danny was with the girls and how inappropriate some of the girls were. At one point, he had to say to one of the girls, don't touch me because if my wife sees you touching me, she won't be happy. But the fact that he was very giggly and giddy and excited was just side look. They then showed Beck. Beck was inappropriate. Some of the sexual comments she made were just downright appalling, really. And so they both were in the wrong. I don't think either one of them can lift up their hands and say I was right. For them to then, after watching the video, to meet up again and Danny to say to Beck, you lied to me. You said you were forced to take a number when you took the number voluntarily. So how can you say you were forced to take a number? And Beck is saying, how dare you call me out on something that has nothing to do with our relationship? You need to focus on our relationship. I think what he was trying to say was, if you can lie about something that minimal, what about us as a couple? You're going to do worse, because if you can lie for something that has absolutely nothing to do with you, what are you going to say about something that, how many lies have you told about our relationship? For Beck to storm out and say, I didn't want to call him out because, I just felt it wouldn't accomplish anything. So this is why I decided to leave. I decided to leave because it was a waste of my time. No, she decided to leave because she knew that she was more in the wrong than he was. Had it been a different story, then she would have stayed, as far as I'm concerned. Filip and Stella, they went on a boat just to celebrate their relationship. He got a key for her apartment. I think he's already had this key. I think they just did it for the formality, because production, sadly, because everyone is jumping ship, there was no one for them to record, so they hired this boat. They had a little dance. They were really cutesy. I really love this for them. I think they can actually work as long as they continue to fill each other's cup. I think the more Filip tops up Stella's cup, and if she doesn't top up his own, he's going to run out. So it's a matter of them living the experiment and finding tools and ways of sort of making sure that they're both feeling fulfilled and it's not just one person's needs being met. You then had poor Scott. Scott came back to the apartment, I think, to take his bags. Production must have persuaded him. Initially, I was upset that why did they bring him back? But I think this was good for him, because he got to get closure, to realize that this woman wasn't it. Because he watched the video and saw how heavily Gia was flirting with her alternate. I think his name was James. She asked him about how much he earns. She asked him about, his views on gender roles, and the fact that she wanted to be, a kept woman. She wanted to be a trophy wife. And it's like, Gia, this is all she's wanted. She came onto the show. She's got her own child. She doesn't want to probably have more. All she wants is someone to sponsor her and her child. And poor Scott really broke down. And I think he's realized that she was using him throughout the experiment. Sadly for him, he valued SCX, and she must have been very good at it, that he forgot to look at other aspects of his life. And anytime he wanted to do anything, she would hold him at ransom because of that, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. He really cried. He said, in this whole experiment, I've been spending my money. I was about to go and get a big house and do all this for her and her daughter, only for someone who doesn't like me, someone who's telling somebody else that in a week's time she'll be free. So imagine what I was going to saddle myself with. And it's like, this was good because it gave him closure. It really did. Had he continued and gone home without sort of seeing this, then he might have only waited until he saw the show, but then she would have taken him for what he's worth. It seems a lot of people have taken advantage of Scott because of his money. And this is really sad, because in doing all this, people are creating a villain. They are creating a villain because of that hurt and that pain. Whoever has the unfortunate sort of, what can I say? Whoever has the misfortune of coming across him in a relationship is really going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting, or is really going to go through it, because this man has been broken by a lot of people, it seems like. And so it's going to be difficult for him to trust. And in having issues with trust, it's going to be difficult for him to have a sustainable relationship with anyone. I can't wait to see what happens next. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 34. Bye guys.